Hello, I'm back. I want to do this video to answer a question by Comic Crack. He posed a question about doing a video about selling on eBay. Since I did a series of video on my bad stories and nightmare with eBay, so I want to do a video on my tips on how you can become a good eBay seller. I have sold quite a lot on eBay. Not in the last 2 years. I kind of stopped doing it, mostly because I ran out of things to sell, and I just get tired of selling. I mean, after a while, um, for those that do it for a living, I, I guess they don't mind doing it, but for me, listing, scanning, packing, shipping, all that stuff is a lot of work. So I can use a break. But I did sold probably 300 plus items through eBay, and it's all comic books, from graded comic books to raw comic books, um, mostly graded, and I have very positive experience. I did not have one bad transaction. I think only once did a slab arrive at the location damaged, but I paid for insurance, so the buyer was able to get the reimbursement to have that fixed. So that's not a big deal. So overall, I never had a bad experience with eBay. I sold things from $20 all the way up to $1,000. So I did sell a few high price items on eBay, high price comic books on eBay. But as far as being a good seller, I think the key is being able to grade, especially if you sell raw comic books, because I think it is very hard to sell consistently on eBay if you cannot grade. Even the best seller out there will misgrade a book here and there, and I understand. It's hard. I sold only a few raw books on eBay, but I sold thousands of raw books in other venues, and I can tell you, it's not easy to sit here and grade a couple hundred raw books in anywhere from 2.0 to 9.8. It's not easy. So I make mistakes, and the few occasions that I didn't grade correctly, the buyer will come back to me and say, I disagree with your grade, and I reimburse or take the return or give full reimbursement or give partial reimbursement, whatever will make it work for the buyer. So being able to work with the buyer is very important. I think every seller out there need to be able to understand that they can make mistake, and when mistake happens, trying to work it out. Don't go into the mode that somehow the buyer is at fault. Okay, be open-minded, but first and foremost, know how to grade. Number two is have good pictures. I understand that sometimes when you sell a bunch of cheap books, it's not worth taking a picture of every book front and back. I understand that, but when you're selling something that's $20 or even $10, it's nice to have front and back cover pictures, and especially on books that are high price. By high price, I mean anything that's could be 20, 30, 40, 50. It's all depend on the person. I might think $50 is not high price. You might think $50 is a lot of money. But it's good to give an interior shot of the book to show that the page quality of the book. That also very helpful. So for me, at least have the front and back, and for higher price item, have a shot, a picture of the interior cover and the splash page, so that you can the buyer can see the condition of the interior cover, whether it's brown or tan or yellow, And then the page quality, it's important to do that. So that is helpful. Have a return policy is helpful because really, as mentioned before, even the best grader out there can make a mistake and miss a flaw. So it's okay to have a return policy. It's almost a must, because you can't really sell something and not back it up. And lastly, if you can, list all the flaws that a person can't see with the scan. What I used to do when I sell raw books is, in addition to just show the picture, I also mention flaws that cannot be seen with the pics I provide. I would mention things like, there's a small stain on the front cover, bottom right, or there's a thumb crease that does not really show with the scan on the top left corner, things like that. I would mention as much as I can so that the person that want to buy the book has the most information that he can to make a decision. I don't want to hide any flaws or skip over it and then hope the buyer will miss it. That's not how you win customer. And I can tell you the majority of the customers I had through eBay or other venues are repeated customer because once they buy a few books and they trust my grading, they come back many times. Some people bought hundreds of books from me and they love it. They wish I had more to sell. So it's important, to build that kind of relationship with your buyers, and the only way to do that is to build trust over time. That's one of my red flags with sellers out there. I have a rule with some seller where if you miss a flaw, it's okay. We all make mistakes. But if you miss a flaw and I came back and returned the book to you and you relist it in the same manners to try to dupe the next buyer, I'm gone. Okay, so perfect example is here. I had a seller that I bought 3 or 4 times from with no incident. Price was okay, condition of the book was as described or close enough that I think it's okay. And then the one time I bought a book, it was a square bound book, and on the back cover there was a 1.5-inch tear, and someone put a little bit of glue on the tear to seal it. So it's restored. So after I reviewed the book, I notified the seller that, hey, unfortunately this book I will have to return because there was some restoration on the book. You missed a tear seals on the back cover. The seller was like, oh, sorry about that, I missed that, go ahead, return it, I will refund you. And I returned the book and get full refund. Next day, he released the book in the same manner, near mint, beautiful, nothing, not mentioning any tears whatsoever. And that was a red flag for me. That's it, I'm done. I'm done buying from him, because to me, that's a warning sign that, he's out there to, not trying to do the right thing. Okay, so that's one. Here's another example. Again, another seller that have return policy, have great pictures, both front and back, big, clear, high resolution scans. I bought, I think, 4 or 5 books from him with no incident. Each time I was very happy. And then one time he added a bunch of new books and they look great. But when I examined the scan, I noticed all 3 of the books I want to buy had potential stain. I can see the hint of like a fairly big stain on either the front or back cover. So, he lists them as near mint. But if there was stain that was the size of a quarter or bigger, there's no way they're gonna be near mint, okay? At best, they might be 8.5 or so. So I contacted him and I said, listen, I'm interested in these 3 books, but I think 2 of them have a stain on the front cover and 1 on the back cover, and I outlined where the stain I thought was going to be, like bottom right front corner or top left back cover. So I asked him to check it for me, and he came back and he said, "You're right. Good eyes. I checked those 3 books, and you're right. Those were stains in all 3 books." And he did nothing to change the listing. He still keep the listing as near mint and mentioned nothing about the stains. He's off my list too. So that's the kind of thing that a red flag to me is buyers. I don't like sellers that when things are pointed out to them like that, they ignore it. Okay, because to me, if that's how you going to do business, it tell me that you care more about the next sucker that's gonna buy the book instead of doing the right thing and be fair. So I'm gone. So all in all, that's how I like to see seller handle their business. And before I go, I want to mention one other thing. When I used to look on eBay to buy, if I see a listing that I like, especially from a seller that I have never done business with, besides just checking the feedback, I don't really look into that too deeply. Sure, they're nice to know, but I learned from my lesson that a person selling Beanie's Baby and other stuff, they might not know how to grade comic books. So just because they have 200 positive feedbacks on selling children toys does not mean that they know anything about grading comic books. So what I do is when I see something like that, I also look at all their listings on comic books. So let's say a person have 85 listing on toys, but then 20 listing on comic books. What I would do real quick is I look through his listings and see what his grading was. If I see a complete mess as far as grading is all over the place, some books he lists is near mint, that's okay, it's near mint, but then some book is fine at best, he still lists is near mint, I avoid those two. I don't like, to me that's lazy sellers, people that just put the disclaimer, I'm not a professional grader, but then they just throw some kind of random, it's really random, okay, because when you see books that can be anywhere from 6 to 7 range in the same description as near mint, no. If you can't grade, just say I can't grade. Here's a book. See, determine for yourself what grade it is. Here's a clear scan of the front and back. That's it. Don't go with the I'm not a professional grader and then throw some real crazy grade on it because it's just stupid. But that's me, So that's how I avoid sellers. If I see no consistency in their grading, it's a red flag for me because all it does is tell me that this seller is either don't know how to grade, it's just gonna give me a lot of headaches buying stuff that I will not be happy with later, or he's willfully just mislabeling the grade of the book in hoping to get suckers that don't know what they're doing to pay for and buy the book. So either way, it's not a good thing. So the key still boils down to be able to grade and be able to grade consistently. When I sell my books, in the beginning, I undergrade my books because I was fearful of, I don't want to list something that's 9.4 and then, people be unhappy with them. So I list them as 9.2, 9.0, whatever it is, just so that I get a happy customer and not deal with people that would nitpick with me about certain flaws. But then shortly after that, I gain the confidence in grading and I start to list the book as I think it is. Okay, if you don't agree with it, that's fine, you don't have to buy it, but I'm not going to list a book that I think is a 9.4 as a 9.0 just so that I can avoid the issues. So at the end of the day, be consistent with your grading, because I learned that when I'm that consistent with my grading, the majority of the people that buy a book from me say, Nick, you're spot on with your grading. When you say something is a 9.6, I trust it and I got the book, it's awesome, thank you. Perfect, that's how I want to hear it. I don't want people to be like, Nick said that was a 9.6, I got a 9.2, woo! No. At the end of the day, I want to be fair to both me and the buyer. You know, if a book is 9.2, it's a 9.2. I'm not gonna undergrade it just to get somebody to be happy with me. But on books that are cleaners, for example, if you have a book that I think can be a 9.2 or 9.4, I'm not sure, then I go with a 9.2. I go with a lower grade to be safe. So there are situations where I would go with a lower grade just to be safe, but overall, most of the time, I will go with a grade or list a book with the grade I think it should be. You know, and let the buyer decide. You know, I don't need to convince them to buy anything. You know, if they don't want to pay for the books, that's okay. Okay. Anyhow, I hope this rambling helped Comic Crack as well as anyone that want to sell on eBay. Okay. Well, thanks for watching.